Hello, modern Canadian living enthusiasts. Welcome to a beautiful afternoon on the farm. It is a fall day, a little cooler, so we got a warm drink. And as promised, it's time to talk some chicken numbers, specifically related to the birds that celebrated their big day a couple of weeks ago. So without further ado, let's get into the math. So, 15 birds. Specifically, the 12 chickens is what we're going to be talking about today. These 12 chickens, we had them for 9.5 weeks, so 67 days. It's about a week and a half longer than they normally would have gone. During this time, they consumed 264 pounds of feed. That's right, 264 pounds of feed, or 6 bags, and we'll put that up right here. That means that each bird consumed 17.6 pounds of feed, and that does include the turkeys that were in with them, and the 13th bird, which only made it halfway through the journey. So all the math that we're doing here does factor in that we had the 13th bird for about halfway through, but we're just factoring that in for the overall numbers to see where we landed as a total. So like I was saying, that's about 17.5 pounds of feed per bird for the 67 days. That's a little higher than we'd like to see. On average, it's about 15 pounds of feed for the 8.5 weeks. So I guess for 9.5 weeks, 17.5 pounds of feed isn't too bad for each bird, especially considering 3 of them are turkeys that were in there when we did all this math. So what does that mean? That means that feed, this 264 pounds of feed, cost us $185.56. $185.56 Canadian. So Canadian monopoly money. Don't forget that, all right? All funds are in Canadian dollars. That's expensive. That's a lot. That brings it down to $12.37 per bird to feed them, which doesn't sound like too much, and it's not too bad, but you can't forget we have to pay for the initial purchase of the bird. Each bird cost us, for the chickens, $4.88. That includes the purchasing, the delivery fee, and anything that was related to getting them up front. So $4.88 per bird. They each consumed $12.37 worth of feed, which brings the total to $17.25 for each of our Cornish cross chickens that were raised in the tractor. That's a lot. Not gonna lie, that's a lot. It was more than it should have been, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First off, these chickens were raised with the turkeys. Turkeys eat more expensive food. They have a higher protein content. In fact, it's around 36%, whereas the chickens, it's 18 to 21%. So this factored into the higher food cost. If they had been raised on the chicken feed, we would have been looking at $105 for the feed, which breaks it down to $7 a bird. You add that with our $4.88, we're at $11.88 per bird, which is about where we want to be. The goal for pasture-raised birds is $10 a bird or less, including the purchase of the bird, any feed, and anything else that goes along with it. So for our $17.25 per bird, that's a lot. It's a lot. Factored in, like I said, raising them with the turkeys. Will we be doing that next year? No. Though it does make everything simpler having them in the one tractor and moving that around. Our plan next year is to separate them, to control the food cost, control the amount of feed that each bird eats, the chickens and the turkeys. But also, there's different times, there's different life cycles, and we're going to have more. This was our trial run, and we're glad we did it because we learned that chickens and turkeys, though they get along great, it's too expensive to raise them together if you got to feed them all. It doesn't work out. But those 12 birds, once their big day came, they gave us an average of 6 pounds per bird. Just over 6 pounds per bird, actually. Which is pretty good. That's pretty sweet. And when you're looking at $17.25 per bird for a 6-pound chicken dressed, that, means processed and stuff, comparing that to the supermarket, well, we came out way ahead. Had we gotten down closer to our $10 a bird, yeah, we would have been even better off. But still, that's $17.25 per bird for 6 pounds of clean pasture-raised chicken In the stores right now, $17 will get you about a 3.5 pound chicken. Who knows how it's been raised or where it came from? They can put all sorts of labels and stuff on that. We know exactly how our food was treated before they celebrated their big day. Time for our lessons learned. First one, well, we've already covered that. Chickens and turkeys in the same area, eating from the same feed, too expensive. Would not recommend it. If you decrease the protein content, your turkeys suffer. They don't develop as well. If you just try and figure out other things, the best way we've come up with is separate them. Feed the chickens what the chickens eat. Feed the turkeys what the turkeys eat. This way your math comes out appropriate, as turkeys are much bigger birds. That's why they need such a higher protein content. Another lesson learned is choose your breeds. We went with Cornish cross this time, and, well, they eat a lot. Don't kid yourself. They grow fast, but they eat a lot. There are more foraging types out there, and that's something that we're going to be trying next year. Like I was saying earlier, we've got a couple of breeds in mind. Not sure exactly which one we're going to settle on, but there's another 3 types we want to try before we make the decision on which one we're going to continue to just raise year after year. Source your feed. Getting from your local big box store or your tractor supply center, it's doable, right? They're there. They're usually easier access, but you pay for that quick access and that ease of getting it, right? So the feed is going to be a bit higher. If you source your feed from the mill directly or go to a wholesaler, price decreases. If you add in different things that you grow from your garden, from the property itself, that helps decrease. If you've got lots of clover and other items like that in your pasture, that helps decrease the overall feed bill that you're going to have to foot for raising pasture-raised turkeys or chickens or whatever other fowl you want to do on the land. Something else is the water. Figuring out water systems. Here in Canada, if you want to start early and go later in the season, you're going to have to figure out a way to keep the water from freezing, especially when it gets to be this time of year. Some of the nights, fall nights, can be cold. It can dip down below -0 and the water can freeze. So figuring out a water solution is crucial, especially when you've got to fill the water. Filling the feed is easy, right? It's not super heavy. But when you've got those Home Depot buckets like you've seen us use, and you're filling those with water, and you've got to walk that back and forth, that can get tiresome when you've got, a couple of tractors and several tractors to deal with. So plan out how you're going to do your daily feed and water for the birds. The last lesson we learned is find something that works. This chicken tractor might have been a little bit more on the expensive side to build compared to some of the lower options that are out there, but we wouldn't change it. Having this higher type chicken tractor makes it easier for us to go in, to care for the birds, to do anything we need to do, change out the food, the water. With the wheels, it glides on the grass easy, so it's just a simple task to move them onto fresh pasture. But having a system, whether it be a poultry netting, whether it be a low chicken tractor, a high chicken tractor, whatever you'd like, find something that works for you to make this whole process a lot easier. So is it worth it? Yes, it's honestly worth it. Will we be doing it again? Yes, we will. We're going to be upping the scale. We're going to have multiple tractors. We're even going to look at raising some of the birds in the forest back there. Going to try them that way, pasture forest mix, and hopefully with foraging and changing our feed source. We've even sourced a mill now where that'll bring it down to about $4.50 to feed the bird. If they forage too, it would get even cheaper. We also have a long-term plan of, once we select which breeds we want to continuously raise for meat production, that we're going to have some added into our chicken flock. We're going to have them have their own run. We'll be able to source our own chickens that way and just raise the number that we need for ourselves and family and friends and anything else we do here. But this all goes to show that with a little area, whether you want to use a chicken tractor, you want to use some poultry fencing and just fence them off and have them on pasture, you can do this. You can do it with 12 birds, or you can do it like we'll be doing with 30 birds at a time, different batches in the tractors. It's doable if you want to put in the time and effort. But don't kid yourself, because it is time and effort. You got to get up in the morning. You got to feed them, give them water. You got to secure them at night. You have to move them on pasture twice a day when they're in the tractor. If they're in a poultry net, it works a little differently. If you've got them fenced off, you still have to move them through the process, but it's not as often. So if it's something you're thinking about, make sure to check out the rest of our videos. Check out everything that's coming up. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on those YouTube notifications, because there's going to be lots more to come with the journey. And we're going to share our lessons learned, our victories, our successes, and then some struggles and challenges that we encounter. You don't want to miss any part. So we'll see you next time.